Welcome back, guys, to yet another episode in the WoW Token Challenge. We are at episode 4, and we are going to continue our progress towards the glorious goal of earning a WoW token purely through Durotar. Now, we have progressed, I want to say, a decent amount. We still have a very far road to cross, but that's completely fine, because the fact is, we will make it happen. We will eventually reach our goal. And then, in the future, once we complete this goal of earning a WoW token in Durotar, we will pick the next zone. Now, to give you guys an idea of what those zones potentially have the opportunity to be, it is going to be Northern Barrens. I might also consider Southern Barrens the same zone, because Northern and Southern Barrens, it got split in two in Cataclysm. So if we end up going to that zone, we might actually count that as one zone. It kind of depends. I'll do a little bit of prep before we actually have to pick that zone, if we end up picking that zone. Then I'll do a little bit of prep to see whether or not we just combine the two, or if we keep them separate. Now, if it doesn't end up being Barrens, then it has the opportunity to be Ashenvale or a shoutout. Now, the reason that those are open as well is because if we just ignore Orgrimmar, then the only option we have is Barrens. So to make it a little bit more interesting, also since we have been using Orgrimmar a little bit in the challenge, in Orgrimmar we can make it to Ashara as one thing, but we can technically also make it into Ashenvale. Now, it is a little bit of a crossover, but I feel like since it's so close, we can potentially accept it. So I want to keep the options open. The way that I'm thinking it is the ones that are pretty much connected to where we are at. So Ashenvale, Ashara, or the Barrens. We will be continuing adventures as best as possible and getting the consistent gold from farming materials, and of course, farming as much transmog as possible. Now, in today's episode, we will be doing all three of those things. Something that I forgot in the last episode is to do a giveaway. And because of that, we're doing a giveaway now, but we're going to do it times 2. So the giveaway that we've been doing has been 2 months of game time. So we're going to be giving away 4 months of game time for this video. I will be picking 2 winners, and of course, those will be picked for the next episode after this. All you have to do is you have to like the video and then type a comment down below about maybe your progress in this challenge or something similar, or just something that you're enjoying currently in the game. I'd love to talk about it. That's pretty much what we do for all of these giveaways during this series, but let's get straight back to it. The rotation that we will be doing is going to be right around these rares, right? Death Flayer, Captain Flat Tusk, and then we have a Geolord model. We also have Sergeant Curtis, and then we also have Fellweaver Scorn. Now, so the rotation is going to look like this. We fly from up here, down here, and then a little bit around this wall, around Valley of Trials, come back, and then do another swoop up here. That's the way that the route works, and every single time we see any ore or any herbs, then we will be taking those and picking those up. Now, every time we land in an area like this, if we can get a couple of mob kills, especially on humanoids, then we will be doing that, because not only do we get a little bit of raw gold from humanoids, but they also have a little bit of a better chance of dropping us gear pieces. And those greens, we will actually be wanting those quite a lot. So you did get a hint of some materials that we have been farming, and we've been spending quite a considerable amount of time. But I will be farming way more outside of actually recording this point right now. If any of you guys watched the last episode, episode 3, you would know that we were a little bit over 1 day. So we have spent quite a considerable amount of hours, and we are now moving into the hardcore grind, because the auction house stock that we have is just under 200k. And what we have been spending time on is getting the more consistent gold, rather. And secondly, every single time that I've done approximately an hour, I'll be returning to the auction house, we go in the auction house, we post everything we have, and then we quickly do a cancel scan. And what I mean by cancel scan, I'll actually have to go back to the city, but what I mean by cancel scan is that you can actually do that technically with TSM, but the easier way to do it, considering we just have one auction house, we don't have that many items, you can do it with something like Auctionator too. And Auctionator is a little bit easier to set up, so just for the purposes of keeping this challenge as simple as possible, we are using Auctionator for the purposes of canceling. So on here, if you have some stuff posted, you can actually see we've been able to sell some stuff. All you do once you have Auctionator installed, you click on the canceling tab and you click undercut scan. Now what this will do is it will go through all of your posted auctions, and it will see if somebody else has posted their own items on top of yours. And if they have, then the chances of yours selling are obviously quite small. And if it's on some of your, say, big ticket items, then you want to make sure that those are reposted again. And you can see we have some Chargers hand wraps here. Those are 70, currently the minimum price for those are 7,500. So we do want to repost those and make sure that ours is the, most recent one that people have the most, well, best chance of buying. But also something when it comes to something like transmog, when people click into something like this, you can actually even see somebody posted another version of these for 900 gold. So again, that cuts into the profit quite a lot. But again, it's just a white piece of gear. It's not ridiculously hard to get. And you can see that something like the region market value average here is 105k, which has been artificially inflated by people that like to try and, manipulate prices on the auction house. So all of these astronomically high prices, you can't always trust them. So bringing the price down on this, or maybe trying to get a quick sale, which is probably what this guy is doing, it makes sense. I understand. But again, my purpose remains the same. It is really important to take a look at some of the items that you have posted and make sure that you repost them, especially if you have time for it. If you don't want to do that, I mean, that's up to you. I don't decide what you end up doing here. But if you want to try and actually be able to get more sales when it comes to transmog, not just for this challenge, but in general, you're going to have to cancel scan, especially if there is a lot of competition on the transmog that you have, even if it's just materials. Because if it's a really popular item, both on the side of buying it, but also of selling it, then the chances of somebody else, reposting right straight on top of you is pretty high. So if you want to, have better chances of being able to sell your stuff, you have to repost. So that is included in our rotation. And now, if I want to get a little bit of a break or something from doing the astronomically insane route that we have in Durotar, well, then we have the opportunity of going into Ragefire Chasm. And if you didn't watch the last episode that we had, this gives about 600 to 800 raw gold for 10 runs. And we can do those in about 35 to 40 minutes, which is really good. And not only that, we also have the opportunity to get a lot of, transmog pieces, which goes both for grays and white items, and then also greens. Now, we have farmed quite a lot of stuff in there, so we have a good amount of duplicates. There's probably a couple of pieces that we don't have at this point, but I think that we have the vast majority of it. So I'm not going to farm Ragefire Chasm too much. I'm going to rely a little bit more on the consistent gold that we can actually get out of farming materials. So that's the plan. We are going to be farming quite a lot. Now, the only thing that I haven't shown you is the current mailbox. And I haven't done that yet because I want to, again, at the end of the episode, go through how how much we've progressed and what the current amount of gold is at the end of the episode. And then again, we'll go over the slash played so you guys can see how much we have farmed from this point until the next point, and then we'll see what the gold is at. But right now we're at 24,826 gold. So the next time that you see a clip, which is obviously because of wonderful editing magic, you will see what the difference is. Also because we'll be showing the mailbox. Another thing that I'll be doing is I want to show the route a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. To not make this take too long to show you guys the route that we do in the open world, I am just going to show you where the rares are at and the potential spawn locations. Now, if you guys don't know the add-on, this is called Rare Scanner. There's plenty of other add-ons that actually will show you where the locations of rares are and the potential spawn locations. But this is the one that I've been using. It's been working quite perfectly for this stuff. And it also makes a bit of a sound when you get close. So one thing, again, when I do this rotation, I try to kill some mobs along the way too, so we can potentially get some transmog drops. And then of course we pick up ores and herbs. Now, we're going to pick up a little bit less, as I said, so we can speed run it a little bit. And we only walk in here to check if he is here, and we can currently see that he is not. The name is going to be Fellweaver Scorn. Usually when I have seen him, he's in here, and if he, like right up here on this little ledge, he's currently not. And usually we also get a ping if he's in here, and he is currently not, as from what we can see. There's also the other two spawn points, and sometimes it doesn't actually show us anything before we walk a little bit closer. So we're just going to double check just for the purposes, making sure. But nope, there is no rare in here. So at this point, I just run straight back out, and then we go over to the other spawning locations. And on the way, we would be picking up, normally, herbs and ore, so we can get ourselves some consistent gold. But now we've been making our way over to Deathflare. And the rares that have the best potential, I would say, is Fellweaver Scorn, and then also Deathflare. There is the Geolord model. He doesn't have too many options for good transmog pieces. Captain Flat Tusk is pretty decent, but I'd say the two best ones is Deathflare and then Fellweaver Scorn, at least from my own experience so far. But it is still a good idea to kill those rares anyway and pop down and kill some more mobs around them, just because you have the chance to actually get drops anyway. So we make ourselves a little bit of a rotation here to see if the rare is up, and it is. We go ahead and kill it. There we get a little bit of an imbued infantry cloak. Obviously this one is not worth very much, but we will take it regardless, because why not? Plenty of other drops in this guy can drop, as you can see. Those are some of it. So now we hop on over and we check here as well. These are for the other two rares. Again, I would probably go down and kill a lot of these mobs, especially the humanoids, because there's some chances to get some extra mog. Doesn't seem like any of them are up. Along this route, we'll be picking up all of the herbs and all of the ore. Well, now I'll be making the rotation down here to the last rare. And this guy, Sergeant Curtis, he's also pretty decent. This one is the one that I see the least amount of time. And I think it's because this guy is in a very populated quest area. So especially if you're not in Chromie time, it seems like this guy is just almost always dead. But I go in here to check it anyway. We kill a couple of mobs on the way just to make sure. He is not here. This is a quest guy. So he can spawn right here. And then he also has the opportunity to spawn right in here to the left. I've seen him spawn right here as well. So he is not currently here, which is okay. And then we'd move along. Then my plan would be flying straight north again, all the way up to Fellweaver Scorn. And then we just simply make the rotation over and over. Because even if we have perfect timers on the current phase that we're currently in, that will not make sure that the timer always stays the same. Because sometimes we could get randomly phased. And on top of that, we could also, randomly need to AFK or whatever. So unless we actually stand still at a rare location, it's incredibly hard to keep track of it. And I don't really think that any of the rare drops in this zone well, any of the drops that we can get off the rares are worth it to just stand still for, I think it's half an hour the respawn timers are. Maybe it's 20 minutes, but regardless, it's not worth it for any of the drops to stand still for that long. So that's why I make the rotation to farm the herbs and the ore. So this is what I've been doing for the last, I don't know how many hours, probably 7 or 8. And we have farmed a considerable amount. The stuff that you see in my bags is not the only part. So we've made quite a delicious amount of progress. And yeah, but that's pretty much it. In the last episode, I showed you how Ragefire Chasm works. So we don't have to do that straight up. Well, we don't have to do that right now one more time. So the next thing that we'll go to is after I've done a ridiculous amount of hours of farming, then I'll get back to you guys again, and then we'll show what the progress is looking like. Something that was mentioned to me in the last episode in the comments from one of you guys is that maybe from the blues that we actually farm in Ragefire Chasm, we can disenchant them. Now, it's a little bit problematic just because of some of the storage issues that we have, but if I do a couple of hours of a lot of Ragefire Chasm, well, then we can build up a good amount of stock. So I did not very long, I think this is like 5 runs, and we have some blues here from Ragefire Chasm. And now, if you look at the actual sell price straight to a vendor, it's like 85 silver, 93 silver, 93, 93, and then 1 gold 81, 1 gold 81. So if we can get more value from disenchanting than the sell price straight to a vendor, well, then that's what we want. And we can actually see TSM is telling us the disenchant value of these is 6 gold and 83 silver. Now, I'm pretty sure that's because they turn into dream shards, these blues. So being able to get a little bit more value out of something like blues is actually not a bad idea. And again, like, we have the herbalism and mining, but we can easily swap these out because the actual rewards that we get are not different if we pick it up again, in case you guys didn't hear that from one of the previous episodes. So we're going to get rid of herbalism real quick, and then we pick up enchanting here. And now that we have enchanting, we get the opportunity to disenchant. And this is the button that's all we need. And we can just put it right here for now. And then we just go ahead and disenchant. So it's actually large brilliant shards. And then we have greater eternal essences. And then we have rich illusion dust. You know, this is actually a little bit confusing to me. I think it has something to do with the actual eye level. I haven't disenchanted a lot of old expansion stuff, but I would have assumed that we actually are supposed to get, like, what are they called? These items, strange dust, and then lesser magic essence, and then greater magic essence. But I guess we're not getting that at the moment, and I'm just quickly gonna buy those 2 there. So that's a little interesting. But that's okay. We had, I don't know how many it was. It's about 40. It was 45 items or something like that. But again, every time we get like one of these right here, greater eternal essence, that's wonderful. If we only get a couple of large brilliant shards, like, that's not particularly great. You can see we got 2 from that one, and that's only what, 90 silver. But you can see this one has the value of 1 gold 35. If we were to disenchant this one, oh, 1 brilliant shard. Then we have Gore Walker Treads, 3 brilliant shards. Okay. Oh, and then we actually got 3 greater eternal essences here. And that's the good one, right? Because they have a value of 7.5, right? 7 gold, 50 silver. So getting 3 of these is wonderful. It's like 22, 23 gold. And if you look at any of these that have a 1.5 to 2 gold value, well, then that accounts for, those 3 right there account for, you know, approximately like 25 items, even pushing 30 items, because some of these have, you know, under, you can see these here, 90 silver and 90 silver. So I would say that this is probably something that I'll start doing a little bit, because as we do a little bit more Ragefire Chasm, to swap up the farming rotation, I don't, you know, this is actually pretty nice because I really enjoy enchanting. It's one of my favorite professions in the current content for the War Within. So this actually makes me pretty happy that we can do something like this. Continue here. And again, we had about 45-ish blues. So we can take a look at the value. And if we just say the average value in these is about 1.5 gold, actually have here, we have a staff, which has a 3 gold value. That might be worth more to actually vendor it. Same thing with these swords. So weapons, we might actually just continue vendoring just because they have a higher value. In case we get really unlucky. But let's see. Because if we say that it's approximately 45 items times 1.5, then it's going to be like just under 70. 67.5. So we say that the blues had a value of about 67 gold and 50 silver. And we are now going to be with, let's see. Oh, we have 157 gold here, 34 gold here, and 12 gold here. So if we put these together, it'll be, we'll just say 50 on this one, and then we'll, yeah, I mean, we got 7 there, so we got about 200 gold. So we actually got, instead of 70 gold, we got about 200. Obviously a little bit less with the auction house cut, but that's pretty nice, right? Because this was about 5 runs in Ragefire Chasm. So if we did 5 more, well, then we could maybe expect, obviously this is a very, very small portion, so the actual average amount could be a little different. But if we say that it's 200 gold for 5 dungeons, well, for 10 dungeons in 1 hour, it'll be 400 gold. And we're already getting 600 to 800 gold raw, so getting that extra in materials is a wonderful thing. Especially if we're collecting transmog on the side. But that's actually just something that I wanted to show you guys. We're going to start doing this a little more, so we get some more of these materials. But that will be in the next episode, because we are now at the segment where I want to show you guys what we have in the mailbox so you can see the progress. So since I last showed you the slash played, we are now at 1 day and 17 hours. So that puts us currently at a grand total of 41 hours, which is a lot of hours, do not get me wrong, but we did also spend, I want to say, around 10 hours just setting up and building up stock. But still, this is a hard challenge, and it's going to take a good amount of time. But we have, in our mailbox, 26,366 gold. So let's go over a couple of the things that we've been able to sell here. As you can see, we have a ton of copper ore, right? If I actually just type in copper ore here, you can see that 10,272 of this is copper ore. I'm pretty sure that we might have some bars. We actually also have some bars here, and you can see that's another 4,000. So about 14,000 of this is just straight up copper ore. So, but you can also see that we've had a good amount of white and gray transmog sales. There's actually some of these are greens as well, but you can see 46, 47, 19, 46, 33. Like, it's not any big ticket items, at least not for this portion. But it's still a couple, you know, it's still a couple hundred gold. I don't actually know. It might be 1,000 gold, but regardless, it's really awesome to see, and we absolutely do want to see this. Okay. Now, as you can see, more copper ore. We also, for obvious reasons, have a bunch of herbs all over the place here. You see some peace bloom as well. We don't really have any big ticket items when it comes to any of our, you know, white transmog, green transmog, or grays. But we do have one crude battle axe here for 856 gold. This is just a regular, I'm pretty sure it's actually a gray item. And then we have a short-handed battle axe. That's also a gray or a white item. And then twin battle bladed axe of the Aurora. But you can see the 282 and 856. That's, I want to say, the highest ones. And we sold another gateway control shard here, which we can buy from the vendor. I already restocked that. And then you can see we sold another Arclight spanner, which, you know, again, we buy that for literal silver. So that's wonderful. And then we have a cadet gauntlets, 190 gold, which, you know, we take those. And there's another Arclight spanner, so we've been able to sell 2 in the process of this particular mailbox. So quite wonderful. I am very happy about this progress. I'll go over to the auction house to show you guys a little bit of the stock that we currently have, because we do have quite a lot of transmog, and something that people were talking about in the last episode in the comments is that I shouldn't be over posting a bunch of this stuff, because there's a lot of this stuff that I have maybe, you know, 5 to 10 versions of. And what I'm going to start doing is I might start vendoring some of it if they don't sell after a good amount of posts. Just start only posting like 2 or 3 of them, because that does, you know, it lowers the amount of time that we actually have to spend at the auction house. But again, we have some pretty good value stuff here. We have some of the primal pieces, primal cape, primal belt, and the primal buckler. And then we also have some charger shield, tribal bracers, and a couple of greens that have some pretty decent value. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the stock that we have on here. I'll just scroll through so you guys can see some of the names or the stuff that we have. And then we're getting further and further down to the stuff that's only worth a couple hundred gold. Now, we don't actually have any more materials that are going on the auction house, but the stock is approximately 225k. And I want to say that this is as close to a realistic value or an idea of how much we actually have posted on the auction house right now. So at this current moment, as we have been throughout this entire challenge, we are waiting for sales. And in the next episode, we'll be doing more Ragefire Chasm, so we can get more of these lovely enchanting materials. That actually is a nice little change up to some of the gold that we can make, and we can spread out a little bit more, which I do enjoy, and it also makes Ragefire Chasm worth it a little bit more. And since we also do a bunch of farming, it's nice to be able to run back and forth between the two. And now we have yet another option for making some extra gold out of one of the things that we're doing. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys, and it was a wonderful suggestion. I'm sorry I can't remember who it was, and I lost the comment, but I really appreciate it, whoever mentioned this, and hopefully that helps you guys along in your own challenge if you're doing it too. Now, this is unfortunately the end of this episode. We have made it to 51,620 gold. We want to make it all the way up to a WoW token, and at the current time of looking at the WoW token, it is 347k. So since it's taken us, what, 41 hours to get to 51k, you can imagine if you times this number by 6 or 7, well, it'll be like 7, but a little lower than 7, then that's how many hours that we would have to spend. However, the most recent progress has been a lot faster. I actually want to say that our gold per hour currently is somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 gold, especially if we do gathering. So I would say that this is going to take probably 100 hours. So in total playtime, I would say that we're gonna be probably looking at 3 or maybe 4 days. I want to say probably 4 days at least, depending on whether or not we get lucky. Because if we end up selling a couple of the items that are worth a couple thousand gold, well, then that cuts off quite a lot of hours off of this challenge. But again, I don't want to yap too much. This is the end of the episode, but before we end it 100%, make sure that you guys check out the link down below for Gold Kept. If you are interested in learning a little bit more about gold making, in not only in retail, but other versions of the game as well, make sure you go check that out and use Sensible as your code for 10% off. It is a place to support me, but also if you would like to get better at gold making and have a bunch of information in one place, then that is the place to be. There's also Discord, which is a part of the membership that you actually get on the site. So if that interests you at all, make sure that you go and check that out. But I appreciate you guys so much for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one.